Alrighty, just gonna show the process of how to make this simple, lightly forged coat hook. Yeah, pretty easy, so just gonna work through the steps and show how it's done. So this coat hook is made out of flat bar, 1/4 inch by 1.5 material. Just working in multiples here, so just try to streamline sort of the process as much as possible. So I just end up sort of making a blank here and drilling out sort of holes to be able to transfer punch, just the key features, just to be able to sort of work the multiple pieces out quickly. I'd normally sort of lay out the blanks just on a long piece of flat bar, but just for the example, just sort of use this one little piece of scrap. So this one here, I believe is 5 3/4 inches of the flat bar material. So I just lay the blank just on top of the material that you're going to use underneath, just making sure it's parallel. Then just clamp it over top in place and just use the appropriate transfer punch here. These two holes that are transferred in, they are just for the fastening holes, just for the hook overall. The two side holes to transfer, just mark out the placement for this little filed or cut in feature just on the side, and the bottom transfer punch hole is just to show where to stop when just sort of splitting sort of the bar, the appropriate place to stop. Then once I've got the sort of blank on here, just end up sort of scribing out or using the soapstone just to mark out the cut points right there. So just taking this one off, we've got sort of the transfer punch holes, I'm not sure if you can see, and then the cut marks here. So after that gets cut out at the same time, I would just use the sliding square to mark out my center cut point, just to split the bar. And we've got that transfer punch mark where to stop. So firstly, I would cut the blank out here, and then I would just sort of lightly score just the center point on the blank. It's just the edge texture that we're going for. Sort of overlap where the bar is going to be split a little bit, just so it sort of lightly carries into sort of the tapers that are going to get forged out. And then next step for me is to just use the zip cut, or you could use sort of files, or you could ultimately chisel out the little features on the side. And then I'm going to use a zip cut to split the bar here. It's just sort of the cleanest for cleanup after. I mean, you could use the bandsaw, but it leaves sort of like the little blade marks. And if you were to use a hot cut, then it's sort of like a little angled, sharper sort of curve in there. So I will end up doing that. That's more or less just the little cut-in feature that we're going for. You could sort of clean it up with a file if you wanted it to be really smooth. I'm just going to continue with the other side and then split the bar with the zip cut as well. One note just to sort of help out with the next step, which is just sort of tapering the two tines here, is just to sort of chamfer or put a 45 on the ends. That just ensures that you get a nice round spoon shape just on your tapers. So now I'm just popping the blank back in the forge and going to take it under the power hammer and draw out these sort of two separated tapers just sort of at the same time. Takes one heat under the power hammer. So just to split the tines here, or the two separate hooks, just weld this sort of V to the table. So after I come out of the forge with heat, I just quench the tips of the tapers, just not to distort them. I use sort of rawhide or a wood mallet, and basically just hit from the back here, and just starts to pull the tapers away from each other into a V shape. That we worked from. Next step, you could either form just a little curl here with hammer over the anvil, but for these ones, I've just been popping them in the vise and using scrolling tongs to just turn them over sort of part way. Got our, not necessarily a scroll, but just sort of the bit of an easy roll here, just so coats and garments don't get sort of hooked up or sort of. So I just quench the little rolled over part just as not to hurt it. I have to choose this side first, or else when I go to the second one, I block myself out. So basically, I'm not trying to achieve any crazy accuracy here. If there's a little variability between the different hooks, that's fine. Sort of makes them look handmade, as long as they're reasonably close. So back in to tackle the other side. Just would have to clean it up with the wire wheel, or for the bathroom, I throw them in a tumbler. I would just take a file to the inside edge where it was zip cut, just to sort of dull it off a little bit. And then the wire wheel or the tumbler would then sort of further smooth out the edge so that it wouldn't sort of catch on any material, whether it sort of be a jacket or a towel or anything like that. Just have some decorative hardware here somewhere. Pyramid head slot screws that work well. Would just sort of buff up the top so they match. And then that is the simple forged coat hook that was inspired by an example photo from a client.